Yeah, it's 3 o'clock.
Hello, I'm Dhanya Rajendran from the News Minute. For many days now, India and of course many international media also has been discussing the entire hijab controversy in Karnataka. We at the News Minute have been covering it since December. Joining me are my colleagues Prajwal, Bhat and Pooja Prasanna, both of whom have been covering this issue. In fact, the hijab row started in Udupi district of Karnataka and it later spread to almost 12 to 13 districts in the state. So we keep getting messages from readers, from people across asking what exactly happened, how did it start, why did these students decide to wear the hijab in the first place, was it against the rules, how did it spread across the state, and many such doubts. Which is why we decided to do this live. And I wanted Prajwal and Pooja to join, considering they have been on the field. They have traveled across districts, talked to protesters on either sides, spoke. Prajwal, in fact, has interacted with these students from Udupi right from the beginning. In fact, when Prajwal went to Udupi to cover this for the first time, a police complaint was filed against him by that college. The college did not want him to speak to the students. He was asked to come to the police station, and then, of course, formal FIR didn't happen in the case. So, Prajwal, first begin by telling us how did this entire controversy actually start in December in Udupi?
So this entire controversy started at the government women's PU college in Udupi. This is located behind the Mother of Sorrows Church in Udupi, and it's one of the um, government PU colleges that is located in the town center in Udupi. So the students who are at the center of this controversy, they are now 6 students, but it started with 12 students requesting to wear the hijab, and that has now turned into 6 students who have gone to court insisting on their right to wear the hijab. So the physical classes in this college started in September 2021, and the students in their interactions with me said that there was nothing in the college rules that stopped them from wearing the hijab. That's why they approached the college along with the parents to allow them to wear the hijab. So some of them are in class 12, some of them are in class 11, or in Karnataka, you call them first pre-university or second pre-university. So it was only towards the end of December that the students were barred from classes for wearing the hijab. So in December, there were examinations in this college, and after the examinations, the principal said that this issue will be considered. But from December 27th, the students were barred from attending classes on the fact that they're insisting on wearing the hijab during the classes. Now, on December 30, representations were sent to the district commissioner in Udupi, the DDPI in Udupi, and by the start of January, the Campus Front of India claims that they decided to step in this issue and help the girls protect their individual rights. So throughout January, these girls from the government PU college in Udupi have not had classes and have been speaking and interacting with various media outlets, articulating why they are insisting on their right to wear the hijab. And from this Udupi college, this issue has spread to other colleges in Udupi. The one thing I want to mention here is that in this Udupi college, it's a point of contention whether hijab was previously worn by the students or not. But in all the other colleges in Udupi, whether it is in Kundapur or the MGM college, which is located a few kilometers away from the Udupi town, in all these colleges, hijab was worn freely by the students until now. And it is only now that the government has changed the rules so that the students are restricted from wearing the hijab.
So, Prajwal, if I understand this correctly, you're saying in the first college where this entire hijab controversy started, the students' contention is that their seniors were wearing hijab to classrooms. They also realized that there are no specific rules stopping them from wearing hijab, which is why they started wearing the hijab, right, in December.
Yes, and also the education minister the VC Nagesh had told at the time to many journalists, including me, that there is no specific rules or uniform dress code for degree and PU colleges in Karnataka, and the rules were left to the college development committee. And in this case, the college development committee is headed by the sitting MLA of Udupi, which is Raghupati Bhat of the BJP. Now, the students say that they approached the principal asking that the rules make no mention specifically about the hijab. The rules, however, do say that uniform should be worn in the college.
So there are a lot of questions which we keep getting, saying why did these students suddenly decide to wear the hijab? So one thing Prajwal is saying that they have been wearing the hijab outside the classroom before December also. It's from December that they started wearing inside the classroom, this particular set of girls. But they are saying that before them, there were other students who did wear that inside the classroom. However, this has been contested by the college, by the school or college. They are saying that no, nobody was wearing the hijab inside the classroom. See, another
In
point to
fact, the
understand.
college's submissions in the court deny this claim by the student. The college's submissions in the court include photographs going back to 2009. They cite a rule that the college had formed long ago. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it cites a rule that the college has formed a long time ago about insisting on the uniform code in the college. There has been uniforms in this college ever since its inception 37 years ago. So the college has also submitted the fact that these girls approached the institute to wear the hijab only from the end of December 2021. So it has been in the last 1 month that they have not attended classes over wearing the hijab.
See, another question which people are continuously asking is why did somebody suddenly start to wear hijab? Now, I think that's a lack of understanding, right? People can suddenly decide to do whatever they want. Like today, I want to sport a bindi to college. I mean, there was a time when I used to wear big earrings. Suddenly, I'll stop. So, religious, political decisions are taken by people at any point of time. What is in contention in the court is that was there a specific rule which stopped them from wearing the hijab? And if there is not such a rule, then should they be allowed to wear the hijab? And for all those listening in, the distinction which Prajwal makes is that it's only in the first institution where this problem started that there is a contention whether the hijab was allowed in the classroom or not. In all the other 20 odd colleges where this controversy has spread in Karnataka, hijab was very much allowed in the classroom. But because of this controversy, now all Muslim students are being stopped from wearing hijab inside the classroom. I'll now move to Pooja. Pooja, you have primarily covered the controversy from other districts like Chikmagalur, Mandya, Hassan. What did you see in these places?
Even though it started from Udupi, where it was a matter of whether or not the college rules allow for hijab to be worn, in other organizations, other educational institutions that I visited, what I saw was that many girls had been wearing, young women had been wearing hijab for religious reasons for many, many years now. And all of a sudden, they were being stopped simply because the other side, the protesting students who were coming to colleges donning those saffron scarves were using that as an excuse to deviate from the uniform that was prescribed. So because of that, all of a sudden, these girls were told it doesn't matter if for many, many years you did wear hijab for religious reasons. From now onwards, in the middle of their academic year, they were suddenly asked to not. Many of these girls did not even have time and emotional and mental bandwidth to process what's happening, because many of them were extremely scared at the kind of unwanted attention that they were receiving. At any given point of time, there would be 8 to 10 cameras pointed at them inside the college campus and also inside classrooms. I spoke to a few girls, and of course we have put that out on the News Minute as well. We've spoken to young Muslim women who feel that not just is their privacy being invaded by people just randomly taking their videos and photographs. Some even said that they were being followed from their homes to the college, and there were already conversations back home about whether or not it is a good decision for them to continue with education. And while this is a very complex issue, Dhanya, there are a lot of nuances that we have to factor in. It is not just a matter of what the college, at this point of time suddenly decides on. There is a conversation about feminism. There is a conversation of Islamophobia, and also there is a conversation of whether or not these women have a right to education or not. Why is the hijab being singled out? Because every religion has these very overt symbols. It could be a bindi, like you said. Somebody could have an orange thread, on their wrist. Somebody could wear a turban. For someone else, it could just be a rosary. So there are multiple things. Why is just the hijab being singled out, and why are women not being allowed? Is the question that we're asking.
And the punul for the men, let's not
Of
forget. So
course.
the question of why did they suddenly start to wear, which is what I was trying to explain, is problematic because people take decisions suddenly to do something. right? Which could include religious decisions, which is the students are saying from around September they have been wearing hijab inside the campus. From December they started wearing it inside the classroom, right, Prajwal? And tell us about the political involvement here, right from the beginning. Whether it's the Hindu organizations or the Muslim student organizations, what has their involvement been?
Yeah, yesterday there was a press conference with the Campus Front of India. The Campus Front of India has openly backed the students from the government PU college in Udupi who have gone to court about their right to wear the hijab. Now, the Campus Front of India it has been involved in fervent political activities in this college even before this hijab issue came to light in December. So there was a photograph circulated amongst the students and amongst the local population in Udupi in October itself, in which showed that a few Muslim girls were holding the Campus Front of India banner, and these girls were made to hold the banner after they were spotted at an ABVP protest. So Campus Front of India counseled the students that this is the ABVP, this is how this is the way ideological these are the ideological uh, uh, implications of going to an ABVP protest. So this is something that has happened 2 months before the hijab issue came to light, and it has turned into a situation where both factions on both sides, there has been some sort of mobilizing that has happened. And over the last 1 month there has been protests with especially on MGM college on Tuesday, where hundreds of saffron clad students faced off with hijab wearing women, their own classmates from the same institute.
Pooja, we're going to be publishing a story in some time now where you have clearly written across districts how this protest spread and which are the Hindu groups which came in support. Could you tell us what you found? Like, for example, in Udupi, when this happened, when this controversy was panning out in Udupi, the first protest of students wearing saffron shawls happened in Chikmagalur, a different district. So how did all this come together? Who are the groups behind these protests?
It's interesting, Dhanya, when we started looking at each district and each college where we saw these protests taking place, while there were some common threads, there were striking similarities between all of these protests, but there was also a different modus operandi, if I may say so, used in each of these districts. For example, yesterday, Prajwal did write about how in Udupi there was a very clear attempt and a clear organized way in which saffron shawls were given to students, even saffron turbans were actually given by right-wing organizations, Hindu organizations. But in other districts, it wasn't so obvious. In fact, I spoke to several members of ABVP, Hindu Jagran Vedike, even Sri Ram Seni in the northern part of Karnataka. And, some of them on record went on to vehemently say that we are not organizing these protests. This is purely a student-driven protest. But when I went to those colleges and I spoke to students who were, wearing those saffron shawls, many of them did admit that they were in fact given guidance. That was a term that I heard very, very frequently. They said ABVP and Hindu Jagran Vedike, friends and brothers, as they call them, gave them guidance, gave them awareness about how to organize themselves and how they have to come together at this point of time. They also used this very, very commonly used tactic of othering. They went on to say that all of these women in hijab, they've come together, they're organizing themselves and consolidating. So should we. If we don't do that, the common, fear that was being spread, if we don't come together and ask for our rights, then we will be, less equal than others. So, this is how they started spreading fear. And many students who were also members of the ABVP took lead in organizing these protests, particularly in that Koppa, taluk of Chikmagalur, in the college where we first saw these protests taking place. And mind you, this particular college has seen protests on and off for a long time now. This had been a bone of contention for many months and years even. So even there, we saw one of the students who was a member of the ABVP lead the protest. And of course, the rest of the students did join in. But I also want to point out, Dhanya, in some of the districts, for example, in Mandya, I spoke to a few students who were seen heckling in that video, who were seen heckling Muskan, who very bravely and in a very dignified manner responded to all those boys in saffron scarves. I spoke to one of them. His name is Umesh. And he says that nobody came to us. In fact, we went to the ABVP. We saw what is happening elsewhere. We received videos from Udupi and Chikmagalur and Hassan, and we went to them asking, we want to do something, tell us how we can go about it. So there have been different patterns that we've seen. But the fact that there is a very clear political link, there is a clear hand of the right-wing organization, as is the case in,
So,
on the
Pooja,
other side.
if I can just interrupt there, Prajwal, what Pooja is saying is that there is a thread, a common thread that the right wing organizations are, of course, organizing these saffron shawl protests. You have said that the CFI and SDPI and everyone else, in smaller numbers, have also been organizing protests, even the SFI, saying that women have the right to wear hijab. The protest in against that is saying that if you wear the hijab, we are going to wear the saffron shawls. But to both of you, quickly, if you can answer Prajwal first, do you think this has polarized, communalized campuses to a large extent? Because even those students who are not part of any student political organizations, especially religious organizations like the ABVP, are now identifying with this cause.
Yes, at least in Udupi, wherever I've traveled to Kundapur on Monday. I reported from 4 colleges there, and I was present at this face-off that happened in MGM on Tuesday. So, speaking to a lot of students, it is clear that this particular issue has, broken friendships, has, divided the students into sections. So, there was a clear attempt in the MGM college by Hindutva organizations to distribute saffron shawls and distribute saffron turbans and instigate the students into coming in out in large numbers to protest. This is also corroborated by people associated with the college who say that there was a message that was shared on the college WhatsApp groups 2 days before the face off happened. And in fact, the face off happened on Tuesday and the sloganeering happened on Tuesday outside the college. On Sunday itself, a Hindutva group had circulated messages in the class groups of the college asking all students to compulsorily bring saffron shawls with them in their bags. And at a moment's notice, a word will be sent out by the organizations, and at that moment, you have to wear it and walk into the college. So this particular message had been doing the rounds 2 days before the face off even happened. And on Monday, the students brought saffron shawls in their bags. Some of the students said that the shawls were given to them by the Hindu Jagrana Vedike. Some of them were given by the Hindu Jagrana Vedike in a Durga Daud program that happened in October. So they are repurposing those saffron shawls for this protest. But others who did not have a saffron shawl were given a saffron shawl at the site of the protest itself.
But when you
And
say
then they came
others,
to the
you're
college
saying,
and
1 minute, Prajwal. When you say others, you're saying students, like Pooja is saying, who are not part of any of these political organizations, any of the student organizations, but many of the other students, Hindu students, are also joining these protests. Is that what you're saying?
according to someone associated with the college, that this appears to be the case. This person said that a small number of the students in the college were associated with Hindutva organizations, but there is a large number of people who are deviating towards this cause because of the fact that this hijab issue has erupted in Udupi. There is a lot of there's a flurry of social media posts among students asking to support the Kesari, asking to support the saffron, and the saffronization of the campus is something that's undeniable in Udupi right now.
So both Pooja and Prajwal, who have been to various campuses across Karnataka, both of them are saying that this entire issue has polarized, communalized campuses to a to a certain extent at least, and students who did not identify with political or religious organizations or causes are now lining up to actually be part of this saffron protest, especially. Pooja, I want to now ask you about the reaction of political parties. The BJP, which first at least from Udupi, the reactions were severe, but the rest of the BJP leaders kept saying status quo, status quo. But over the last few days, their tone has completely changed. The Home Minister says that the phones of these students will be investigated into. Yesterday, we had a senior BJP leader, Ishwarappa, saying that there will be a time when a saffron flag is on the Red Fort. So, how has the reaction been from the BJP, the Congress, and the JDS? Quickly, if you can sum it up.
There are usual suspects in BJP who have used this to further their communal agenda. Ishwarappa is one of them. But what is even more worrying is how the Home Minister and the Education Minister have also reacted. Instead of saying that law and order should prevail and students should focus on education instead of boycotting classes, because let's remember the colleges had just opened after the pandemic. So instead of focusing on that and perhaps allowing students to continue with their education, not banning them from classes, the education minister has taken a hard line, has gone after some of the students, in fact, cast aspersions, saying why was a certain a student reacting in a certain way. So clearly, they've made where their hearts lie. They have taken stands, which is something as a part of the government they should have probably refrained from doing. As far as the Congress is concerned, yes, they have gone on record to criticize very, very harshly. But beyond that, on ground, there is hardly any presence. I'm sure Prajwal also can corroborate this. When you visit these campuses, there are there is no presence of Congress, and it's almost like they're not in the game. It doesn't matter what the leaders are saying to TV channels, because they're not really present on the ground, and they're really not doing anything to counter this onslaught from one side. JDS, we heard Kumaraswamy go on record and said that there are much bigger issues. People really shouldn't be talking about these things. But the fact remains, Dhanya, that we cannot wish away what is happening. This is spreading every single day to campuses. So, they haven't really taken a stand, perhaps fearing what kind of political backlash they may face.
Prajwal, tell me something. You follow Kannada channels closely. You follow Kannada social media very closely. Has this entire hijab controversy now become a way to target Muslims? Is there a lot of conversation that way, and is there resistance to that?
You can see that a lot of popular channels and in social media pages are using this controversy as a way to target Muslims and make Islamophobic comments and Islamophobic statements common, and bring it in the mainstream as a part of common conversations. So this is an issue that has divided people across the state. This has divided families over dinner table conversations. That is for certain. But you can see that what is happening in the news media and social media over this issue is the fact that Islamophobic comments are being made regularly, are being normalized over this issue, and of course in the last couple of years over a variety of issues that have cropped up in Karnataka.
So the case is currently going on in the Karnataka High Court. The CJ, a woman judge and one more judge, are hearing the two sides. Before we just quickly move on to the case, there is a woman whose video had gone viral. Her name is Muskan. She studies in a college in Mandya. But the picture, which a lot of people have been putting out on social media, is of a JDS woman leader. I think her name is Najma, right, Prajwal? So
Yeah, her
Najma,
name is Najma.
yeah, Najma not in a hijab, Najma not in a burqa, Najma in regular jeans and shirt. That picture has been used to say that Najma and Muskan are the same people, saying that share me inside college, not share me outside college. These are the kind of collages which are being spread. But that's fake news. The point is that some of these women, they have all rights to wear the hijab where they want, where they do not want it. That's clearly their choice. And as we have been maintaining, except the first college where there is a clear contention between the students and the college as to what the rules are, the rest of the colleges have allowed hijab all these years and there has been no conflict. But it's only now that the hijab has been stopped from all classrooms. Pooja, tell me quickly what is happening in the court, and what did the court say the last time when it came before a single judge?
Well, at this point of time, as we have reported, it has been referred to a larger bench. But the state continues to stand by the fact that there has to be a uniform. And of course, the court also said that, okay, come up with a uniform that, each college will have to come out with their own set of uniforms. But there are many, many questions even within this. Is it all right if there is a dupatta as part of a uniform that can be used as a headscarf? Is that something that will be acceptable to college, disciplinary committees? So these are some of the questions that even the court has raised. And like you were mentioning just before this, that, at this point of time, we are not allowed to, beyond a point, report on the observations that the High Court is passing henceforth. So we'll have to rely on the submissions that both sides have been giving in writing to report on. And the longer this gets pulled, unfortunately, while we understand that this is a very delicate and sensitive matter, but the longer that the courts take to give their verdict, the longer the students will continue with their protest. Because as of now, 3 days the colleges were closed, but when they reopen, will the students continue attending classes? Will the protests continue? These are all very very key issues that the state government also will have to look into.
So the college is supposed to reopen on Monday. If the court does not give a decision by tomorrow about any of this, or the court does not ask a status quo, then you think there could be trouble again, Prajwal? That's my first question. The second is, what are the Muslim students saying, or Muslim organizations saying? Like, for example, if the court says bring a uniform, but that uniform will allow something like a bindi, where it does not say no symbols allowed. You just have to come in your uniform, nothing else. Will those organizations protest?
The Campus Front of India, which has been supporting the girls, has clarified in a press conference yesterday that they will continue their agitation if the court verdict does not allow the students to return to the classrooms wearing the hijab. Now, they didn't go into what kind of agitations or what is the next step that they will take legally, but they have insisted from the beginning that this is something that they want to do. But it is not as if everybody from the Muslim community is of a singular opinion. In Udupi itself, the Student Islamic Organization, which is the student wing of the Jamaat-e-Islami Hind, they have approached this quite differently to what the Campus Front of India has, and have insisted on dealing with this diplomatically from the beginning. Now, this particular organization, we have to reach out to them to see where they stand if the court does not allow the students to return to the classrooms wearing the hijab. But the important thing is, now we're in the last 2 months of their class 12, or the second year of their pre-university. So they have board exams starting April 16th. There are practical exams that are going on. There are preliminary exams coming up in March. So it's really a question of ensuring that students get the education they deserve, and that their education is not disrupted over this ideological battle that has erupted in Karnataka.
Prajwal, we have a question coming in from Anjali Modi. Pooja, you can also answer. She's asking, from the campuses that you all visited, is there any evidence, I mean, this is anecdotal evidence, that you have, that there are significant numbers of Hindu students who feel differently from these saffron clad groups which are saying no hijab should be allowed? Prajwal?
Even if they are being very silent. So there has not been enough stories of resistance that we have found. And even if there are Hindu students who want to wish away this controversy and say that they don't want this to disrupt anyone's education, they are not being vocal about it, and are being mute spectators to the drama that is happening at each of these colleges. Is that something that you also saw, Pooja?
Absolutely. And also, many of the colleges we visited were in rural areas. And there was significant amount of pressure on students who probably felt otherwise, not just on them, their families too, that they shouldn't come out because it will kind of dent the entire movement. Because the image that they're trying to portray is that the entire population, the entire Hindu students, all of them are opposed to, say, 5 or 6 girls wearing hijab. That's the at least image that they're trying to convey. So in view of that, I could not speak to any student who came out and said, I am a Hindu student, but I do not support what is happening. They were either too scared or they agreed with what's happening.
Now,
But while speaking to students in Udupi, Dhanya, one second. While speaking to students in Udupi, of course, Udupi is a very different proposition to the rest of the state. Udupi is part of the coastal Karnataka belt, where the BJP and the Sangh Parivar has a stronghold, as we know. Now, while speaking to students in these colleges, I found that many of the students that I spoke to who are wearing saffron shawls, they're enamored by the Hindutva cause. They follow these Hindutva leaders, some of whom are rabble rousers in Udupi. Some of the students mentioned to me that Chaitra Kundapur, Hindutva leader, is someone whose speeches that they follow. So the ideas that they now ordain, the ideas that they now are telling their other classmates, are coming from these Hindutva organizations and these Hindutva leaders who are popular in this region.
Okay, so finally, before I go, are there any closing comments that, I'll just check questions, but before that, any closing comments, Pooja, from what you saw while reporting on this issue?
Tanya, there was one question that we just got from one of our viewers right now who asked, how are the parents reacting? I think Prajwal also spoke to several parents, as did I. And, at least the Muslim parents, some of them are very, very worried because, they fear for the safety of their daughters also because they're clearly outnumbered. So there are already conversations about whether they should choose to continue with online classes for the time being and then take a call much later on. But several other parents of Hindu students who are wearing saffron shawls seem to endorse what their wards are doing, and they seem to be in support of it, saying that it is for a larger cause. So that's to answer the question. But I just want to wrap up by saying that, for me, what was very troubling when I spoke to students, these are 17, 18, 19, 20-year olds, they have been exposed and they've been consuming so much of hateful messaging on social media, on even sometimes some mainstream media. And like Prajwal said, they're looking up to people who are making some very, very problematic statements. And these are not even statements that we've always reported, but they're all a part of the local culture, the popular culture, and they have come to accept that whatever is being said is all true. So by the time they're 18, 19, 20, I see all of these students who are completely radicalized, and they're not even members of any organization, like Prajwal earlier mentioned. They're not part of Hindu Jagan Vedike or Sri Ram Seni or even ABVP for that matter. But that said, they identify with the cause to the extent where they are willing to alienate some of their classmates, people they grew up with, people they sat on the same bench with, shared food with. And what I asked most of them is, you have to go back to living life with these people, right? They're going to continue studying with you. How are you how are you going to go back to normalcy like how it was before? Their objection is to things like, what is your problem with hijab? When I asked them, they said it is not equal. Many of them can use it during exams to hide some chits or even wear a Bluetooth and cheat. If that is all your fear is, there are ways of addressing it, right? But that is just an excuse to feel victimized, and the larger narrative to ensure that these girls do not have the individual right to wear hijab. And I just want to end by saying, we're not endorsing hijab. We have spoken about multiple problems, some women who are forced to wear hijab, some others who choose to wear hijab. But at this point of time, I think that's a conversation for another day. Right now, we should focus on the fact that these young women want to wear hijab inside classrooms, and if that is not negotiable, their education should not suffer because of this.
So,
It is
Prajwal,
also at the ages you mentioned. Once, yeah.
1 minute. One of the comments from Tyagaraja PS, who definitely does not like Pooja and has put many, many comments against Pooja. But one question he asks is, uniform is a must in education institutions. Now, can we make this clear? Does Karnataka have a uniform for its PU? I mean, I come from Kerala, so I call it PDC. You call it PU here.
Yes.
In PU and degree colleges, is there a uniform? Does this uniform allow the scarf or the hijab?
Dhanya, I studied 11th and 12th a long time ago, but at that point of time, some colleges had. Private colleges mostly do not have. Government colleges do have. But if you're talking about one uniform, what kind of a uniform will it be, right? Will it be a salwar kameez with a dupatta? Is there no religious symbols attached to that? Like you mentioned earlier, how will you ensure that every student coming in is completely stripped of every single religious symbol? So your uniform, will it be able to reflect that? If you have skirts, for example, will all students be comfortable with something like that? A pantsuit, will that be okay? So that in itself, I think, is very contentious, right? What sort of a uniform will everybody be comfortable with? It cannot just suit one religion and say, okay, this will be the uniform. Now all religions have to follow this. So
But
I think
Prajwal, what is the rule, Prajwal? Is there a rule? Because I remember us reporting that there is actually no rule.
That was at the start of this issue. But on February 5th, the government issued an order saying that clothes disturbing for public order will not be allowed. And it is based on this particular order, which came on the 5th, that the events of this week, the exasperated protests from all across Karnataka, this is the backdrop of it is the order that was passed on February 5th.
So what Prajwal and Pooja are saying, that there was not a strict uniform code in most colleges. They some of them had their own uniforms. Like one college I remember allowed the scarf till then, But when the protest started, they said no more hijabs, no more scarf in college. I forgot the name of that college, Prajwal, which the
This
students.
is the Bhandarkar's College in Kundapur. It was written in their calendar book that they gave at the start of the year that scarves are allowed. And it was on the basis of this that students were freely wearing the hijab, the headscarf or the dupatta of the same color as the uniform, until this week when the college decided to bar the students who were wearing the hijab.
So, for everyone watching this, let's be clear that there was not a uniform code across Karnataka. A few of the colleges had it, but it did allow students to wear hijab. At least most colleges said you can wear scarves. But once the controversy started, the Karnataka government passed an order on Feb 7th or maybe a day or two before that saying that there
Yeah.
has to be uniform, public order cannot be disturbed. That's the word actually used in that order. We do not know how one particular piece of clothing can be disturbing public order. Anyway, so we'll wrap this discussion. Prajwal, what are your final thoughts? I mean, you'll have to perhaps cover this even more if the court does not give any sort of order by today or tomorrow. The protest will continue on Monday, I think.
It's disheartening, Danya, to think, how we have reached this point. I heard Pooja saying that this age, 16 to 20, and from my reporting, I found that most of the students who are part of this protest are from the first year of PUC. So they're not even 18. So it is a time of life when usually you make the most innocent friendships, irrespective of religion. But we have reached a point in our society where, the radicalization and the communal mindset has seeped so much that students cannot cannot sit quiet if without stepping into this issue, just so that they want to oppose another community for exercising their right. So it is worrying. It's a worrying trend, and it is something that we've seen in Karnataka for the last few years. We cannot be blind to the fact that this has come on the back of so many other communal flare-ups that we've seen in the last 2 years, especially in this region in Mangalore. 2 years ago, we had violent protests over the CAA NRC and which led to two Muslim men being shot dead by the police when they opened fire. So we are coming to this from the backdrop of so many communal flare-ups, and this is something that it's unfortunate that this is flared up in universities and in educational institutions where such young minds and young students are studying in.
So thank you for that, Prajwal and Pooja. For everyone watching, do follow the News Minutes coverage. We have got many stories. In fact, we published an investigation by Prajwal into how the Hindu Jagrana Vedike were the ones who were giving the shawls, the saffron shawls, and the what is the turbans, the saffron turbans that students were wearing. We published a story yesterday. Pooja's story is coming up on how it spread from district to district. Around 12 districts other than Udupi saw these protests in Karnataka. My colleague Sayukta Dharmadhikari has been covering the court. She's continuously doing that. Shomo Chatterjee, Aditi, lot of reports we've been putting. Soumya Rajendran, my colleague, wrote an opinion piece on is the hijab patriarchal? Is it against feminist ideologies? These are all debates we can have, but this is not the right time to have this debate because now we are having the debate of whether these young women have the right to wear the hijab to their classrooms, to their colleges and schools. So do look at all our coverage. We'll also be putting out video stories. And remember, independent media like ours does need your support. It is not possible to sustain media organizations like the News Minute without your support. So do become members of the News Minute. Also, do we have an option of a one-time payment support? Whatever your choice is, do that because don't complain after 6 months that we don't have any independent media reporting. We are here, right here for you. So do your bit for us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pooja. Thank you, Prajwal, for all the coverage, and continue to follow the story. Thank you.